We need to talk because over the past few years, there have been 5 major events at Ledger which seem to keep getting worse over time. If you're a Ledger user like me, you need to watch this video because there are practices going on at the company which are just really questionable right now. In my opinion, all of these events were avoidable, which makes the mistakes even worse. Here's Ledger's recent history and why we should all be extremely worried about the path that they're going on now. Because there are so many news events going on every day, we tend to forget what happened last week, last month, last year, let alone 3 years ago. And that's what brings us to our first major negative event for Ledger. Now, according to this article by CoinDesk on July 29th, 2020, so that was about 3 years ago, we can see crypto wallet maker Ledger loses 1 million email addresses in data theft. Getting into the article, we can see the hacker, whose identity remains unknown, gained access to Ledger's e-commerce and marketing database. Customers affected include those who signed up for Ledger's newsletter or to receive promotional material. Information stolen included email addresses, with a smaller subset of 9,500 customers also having their full names, postal addresses, and phone numbers exposed. What is this subset of people? Are they less important? You know, we had 1 million emails stolen, but only 1% of those people had their full information stolen, so actually, we did a pretty good job. In total, the company estimates around 1 million email addresses have been stolen in total. This was the first sign that Ledger could not keep control of their data. Somehow it was leaking when they are a security company. Your one job, I'm going to say that again, your one job is to secure data, to secure information. And it slipped through the cracks. Maybe we should have seen it then. Now, the second factor here was the Ledger stacks, which we covered in depth in a recent video that you can watch above. But essentially what happened with Ledger stacks is that they promised for this to be delivered early last year, so early 2023. It never happened, and you can see there's still this in stock soon button, which nobody has any idea what's happening. There's been no updates at all from Ledger for the most part. Now we can see here on the Ledger Stacks facts, what is the estimated delivery date for pre-orders? Once we have a delivery date for batch containing your Ledger Stacks, we will email you with an update. Please know we are working hard to get your Ledger Stacks to you as soon as possible with the best quality possible. We appreciate your patience. Well, I hope that it's with the best quality possible, because that would be a bit worrying if it was just, half done. Then there was a post here on Reddit which said that the stack shipment was significantly delayed. An email sent from Ledger, so this was 10 months ago, and essentially what they said is that we expect to start shipping the first batch of Ledger in the next couple of months. So they were expecting May, April, around this time. Still nothing to be seen. Another post here on the Ledger Reddit states that the Ledger Stacks Best Buy pre-order update was delayed again. So you can see here is that they are thanking people for their patience. While we hope to send your order by August 27th, the manufacturer has informed us that it is taking longer to bring it to the market than anticipated. And we will let you know once they announce a release date. I mean, come on. The worst part of this is that people pre-ordered this device for $279. When you pre-order something, you're not just agreeing in advance to pay later. You're paying upfront. And I've had comments of people telling me that they have just contacted Ledger to say, enough is enough, I'm done, I want out. This is a horrible experience for users, and it's so sad to see that people have just completely given up on the product. For our third piece of news coming from Ledger, we're going to hit on the Ledger Recover. And if you haven't heard of this, it is a bit controversial. So essentially what Ledger and a lot of other hardware wallets do is that they allow you to own your own seed phrase. You write it down and you secure it yourself, and then it's your responsibility. If you lose this seed phrase, you lose all of your crypto. Now, what they provided here with this Ledger Recover is a subscription service. So you pay $10 a month, 10 US dollars, say, and they will help to secure your seed. They'll split it, and we'll explain it down below. And this is how the Ledger Recover is supposed to work. So step 1, identity verification. You need to use a valid ID and a selfie recording as if we're going to register to a centralized exchange. Step 2, create the backup. So basically they create a backup of your private key and then they will split it into 3 separate pieces within the secure element chip. And it says that Ledger Recover only interacts with the fragments of the encrypted key and never with your seed phrase. Step 3, we have securing the backup. So actually, you're trusting your keys with 3 independent companies: Ledger, CoinCover, and Escrow Tech. So something that varies here from when we covered BitKey's recovery service. They both split it into 3 parts, but it seems that based on the Ledger's service, you don't own any of the 3 keys. They're actually, all 3 of them are to 3 separate companies, which sounds kind of bizarre. And step 4, linking the backup to your verified identity. So each fragment is linked to your verified identity in step 1 so that you can request to retrieve the backup. You can request. So you don't have any control, but remember, you can request. So if you do go through this and you want to verify your identity, actually you need to verify twice on FIDO and electronic identification, or EID. Wow. So shortly after they released this information and made a huge marketing push towards the Ledger recovery system, they got so much flack. It was insane. And essentially it got so bad that the Ledger co-founders needed to essentially go publicly to state exactly what it is, why they're doing it. And it was a massive PR battle to kind of resolve this.
So often we were asked what happens if one government asks you to access the seed, that you would need at least 2 different governments that are located in 2 different states. And in all cases, if you're not a terrorist, frankly, there is a very few chance that 2 governments ask 2 different entities to take over your assets.
So CoinDesk had an article here which they actually interviewed Pascal Gauthier. He was the CEO of Ledger. This article states that Ledger backs back criticism of new wallet recovery service. And as we stated before, there was so much community backlash. And it states that users took particular issue with the requirement that Ledger Recover customers provide a government-issued ID to the company should they wish to use the service. Sure, you could use the Ledger Recovery service and give them your private keys, controlling your assets as well as a copy of your ID and other personal information, tweeted Alistair Milne. But why then bother with a hardware wallet in the first place? He makes a really good point here, is that a hardware wallet is meant to hold things yourself, not to have someone hold your hand for you. I mean, if you want to do that, can't you just hold your keys on an exchange for free? This is something really similar that we saw with Twitter or X, whatever the hell you call it now, who knows, is that they started to do government ID verification to get extra perks. And then obviously we had a response here from Ledger themselves. It's not a backdoor at all. You stay in control. Nothing will happen without your consent on device, said Ledger co-founder Nicholas Baca. Quote, people have a lot of fear, which is perhaps unjustified, said Ian Rogers, Ledger's chief experience officer. I think this guy needs to experience a little more in the crypto space. For him to say that there shouldn't be any fear around hardware wallets, self-custody, storage of crypto after everything we just saw in the past year is ludicrous. What is this guy talking about? What kind of experience is this guy trying to give to Ledger users if he's making this kind of statement, honestly? So lastly, we had a quote from Gauthier, which is one of the co-founders, and he said, I'm sorry, but the piece of paper is a thing of the past, and Ledger Recover is a thing of the future, he said. There is no compromise to security. Please, please, please tell me, how is this not compromising security? You're literally giving 3 companies control of your crypto assets. You don't have one of the keys. You give 3 keys to 3 companies. And yeah, maybe one goes out and the other 2 can sign for you, but come on, man. Like, how can you be so disconnected from everything in the crypto space? I know we want to onboard more users, and that's the key, but I'm not sure that this is the best way to trust other people to do it for us. We need to help to educate people to be able to trust themselves first. Now, this next piece of news was brought to me by Digital Asset News. His name's Rob. He has excellent coverage of the crypto markets, so I'd highly encourage you to follow him. He says, not good. Research finds data harvesting inside Ledger Live app. Now, this article is mind-blowing to me that this is still happening in a Web3 or crypto security company. We just made a video about what Web3 is, and essentially Ledger is using a Web2 tactic when they really should be a Web3 security company and focusing on decentralizing data. This isn't the case, and here is why. For reasons that are difficult to comprehend, Ledger Live software transmits information about clicks, page visits, redirects, crypto transactions, page scrolls, number of accounts, crypto asset names, session durations, hardware device types, and firmware versions to Ledger's analytics provider. The fact that that was so difficult to say just shows how much information they are taking on us. While inspecting its code, Rec Builder found that user tracking is built into the entire software suite. He called it a gigantic user tracking system. And it goes further into it when it says a risky Ledger Live default setting. The Protos team did find that there is an option to turn off at least some of these analytics in Ledger Live settings. If you take a look here, which I can zoom into, is that the analytics tab is switched off here, but by default, it's actually switched on. That's a bit cheeky if you ask me. Although Ledger Live doesn't send private keys or recovery phrases to segment.io, it sends plenty of information about a user that could subject users to extortion attacks. Any segment.io hacker, for example, could easily identify any user with substantial crypto holdings, including timestamps of crypto activities and other terrifyingly detailed information about assets. You know, this is something that we definitely expect from a centralized exchange that takes our data and sells it on, but we would never expect it from a company that is pushing towards hardware wallet and self-custody adoption. It just doesn't add up, does it? And here is the juiciest part of the article. So aggregating Ledger users as a high-value audience package. A likely commercial explanation for all the data harvesting, Rec Builder speculated, is that Ledger wants to resell anonymized data to third-party advertisers. Repackaged IP or cookie audiences with thousands of users who have engaged in a recent digital action, such as clicking a button within a crypto app, for example, are commonly resold to advertisers by data aggregators like Google, Bluekai, or Accelerate. Alternatively, the data could be used internally for user experience and user interface workers at Ledger. You see that last part, I can definitely understand that that would help for user experience and user interface if they want to improve the app and make it more functional for us. But if they're honestly selling our data in a Web 2 way, which is completely against basically anything crypto, that is just absolutely absurd for a hardware wallet company to be doing this. This last piece of news may have broken the straw on the camel's back. Out of panic on Twitter yesterday, Ledger posted this. We have identified and removed a malicious version of the Ledger Connect kit. A genuine version is being pushed to replace the malicious file now. Do not interact with any dApps for the moment. We will keep you informed as the situation evolves. Your Ledger device and Ledger Live were not compromised. Let me repeat that again. Your Ledger device and Ledger Live were not compromised. If anything, I think they should have put exclamation point or some kind of emoji down at the bottom, because the most important part is that our funds were not compromised, and they didn't emphasize that well enough. I think myself, with a lot of other people, were freaking out at this moment. Now, there was a bit of delay between the time in which Ledger told us what was actually going on. Other people were commenting in to say what was happening behind the scenes. A great tweet here from Banteg was that Ledger Library confirmed compromise and replaced with a drainer. Wait out interacting with any dApps till things become clearer. In Hudson Jameson here broke it down really well for the average Joe, you and I just want to read this real quick to get a better understanding of what it was like in the moment when all of us were panicking and we had no idea what was happening. A library that is used by many dApps that is maintained by Ledger was compromised and a drainer was added. Do not interact with any dApp front ends on websites for now. This is an ongoing situation and it is risky to use dApps currently if you do not understand what backend libraries they use. If you visit the website, you won't get automatically drained or your funds. However, prompts from your browser, like MetaMask, will display that give your assets to the malicious actors. And it even got so bad to the point where he needed to state that Ledger itself will not be infected by this like a virus. You may be affected if you interact with a dApp on a website which uses a malicious code to create a pop-up transaction. So basically, people were freaking out. People were worried. And it even got to the point where people were poking fun at things that had happened to Ledger in the past. A tweet here from Vanessa Harris says, "Will Ledger Recover help you to get your coins back after Ledger Connect hack has drained them? No, it won't. Stay safe out there. Avoid using dApps for a few days." And then we finally got the update from Ledger themselves, which gave us the complete rundown of what happened. And honestly, you're not going to believe it. Final timeline and update to customers. We recommend waiting 24 hours until using the Ledger Connect kit again. This morning, CET, a former Ledger employee, let me say that again, a former Ledger employee fell victim to a phishing attack that gained access to their npmjs account. This account gave that employee access to push updates to the code. The attacker published a malicious version of the Ledger Connect kit affecting versions 0.5, 0.6, 0.7. The malicious code used a rogue Wallet Connect project to reroute funds to a hacker wallet. Now, the fix was deployed within 40 minutes of Ledger becoming aware. The malicious file was live for around 5 hours. However, the window of funds being drained was limited to less than 2 hours. So to be fair, their response was fast, but that avoids the whole issue here is, why did this employee still have access to Ledger's code base? Ledger coordinated with @WalletConnect to quickly disable the rogue project. Now, Ledger Connect version 1.1.8 is now propagating and is safe to use. So then they came to some sort of resolve here. They said Ledger, along with Wallet Connect and our partners, have reported the bad actor's wallet address. The address is now available on chain analysis. Tether has frozen the bad actor's USDT. Okay, this is all sounding very centralized. Then they said to always clear sign with your Ledger. What you see on Ledger screen is what you actually sign. If you need to blind sign, use an additional Ledger Mint wallet. Now, I looked it up quickly to see what clear signing and blind signing actually is. So clear signing is when you can see the full smart contract details on the Ledger device. Now, blind signing is when you enable the device to approve a smart contract even though it hasn't been displayed on the Ledger device. So essentially, there could be a disconnect between what you're seeing somewhere else and what's on your Ledger device itself. We are actively talking with customers whose funds might have been affected, and we're working with law enforcement on an investigation to find the attackers. So this whole problem around this former employee kind of got me thinking. I'm like, wait, didn't they let off staff in like a few months ago? They actually let staff go. And here we can see crypto custody firm Ledger cuts 12% of staff. Macroeconomic headwinds are limiting our ability to generate revenue, wrote Gauthier. In response to the market conditions and business realities, we must reduce roles across the global business. The Paris-based company has 734 employees, according to LinkedIn. So a 12% cut would mean the elimination of roughly 88 jobs. So I don't want to start any rumors here, okay? I'm not going to stir any FUD, but I'm just saying, maybe there was a situation here where an employee was let go, and because they cut staff too quickly, and maybe they didn't check that they have access to certain things at Ledger, such as passwords and logins to specific areas of the code, and they also didn't reset the passwords or create new passwords for the code. Who knows what's going on, but it's completely unacceptable that this has happened. Another way to look at this is maybe this employee was unfairly fired in their own mind, and they did this to perhaps get back at Ledger. It wouldn't be too far from reality to see something like this happening in the past. Not specifically with Ledger, but this has happened to other companies. So as you can see, after we combine all of the facts, all of the news articles that have come out over the past 3 years, things are not going well for Ledger. How many chances can you give to a company which helps to hold and store your crypto assets? I mean, generally, what do? We give 3 strikes and you're out. I mean, that's the saying. It's been 5 strikes and there has been no sign of any kind of improvement. So it's gotten to a point where, honestly, I just can't recommend Ledger anymore as a hardware wallet. And it really pains me to say this because I mainly use Ledger. I almost feel like this is a breakup because, we've had so many good years, Ledger. I didn't want it to come to this. But as they say, all good things come to an end. And unfortunately, I will be diversifying and finding other hardware wallets and trying them out so that other people can help to protect themselves. We've already been hurt so much by the Voyagers, the Celsiuses, the FTXs. We don't need a company which is supposed to protect us and allow us to own our own assets, to also hurt us because they're overstepping their bounds. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, subscribing, because it really helps me for the algorithm. And as we say here on Beyond the Chain, trust yourself, store yourself, and verify yourself. Until next time.